Yes, we are from AccuLegal. Me and Harshdeep are founders of AccuLegal Services Private Limited. And I won't waste much of your time describing what we are and what we are into because she has already given a brief introduction about the same. So, in brief, we are just a group of chartered accountants and company secretaries and lawyers giving financial services, legal services, and providing one roof solution basically for all the startups who are aspiring to create something amazing in this domain or who are existing already. So we do hand-holding services right from incorporating a company to to take it ahead till the IPO thing, which ultimately is a dream of all the companies, right? So that's a brief about us. Now I'll just take you around brief as what we are going into. Just one second. So first of all, we will jump into what exactly, how to register, because I assume Rossi has informed me that we have audience from various domains, be it people who are aspiring to be, the entrepreneurs and willing to start up a company and register themselves as startup, and also the existing entrepreneurs who are undergoing various compliances at various parts. Um, Right. So first of all, I think before discussing any other thing, we'll just start with how registrations as a company, how do you register yourself as a company and then as a startup, and how it has changed, like how you used to do it before March, before this pandemic occurred, and how you're doing it now. So that is what we are going to discuss in the first slide now. So for those who are really willing to start up something and willing to take up the spirit of entrepreneurship to next level, trust me, this is the best time you can leverage, right? So everything is in your favor. Doesn't sound so, I know, but yes, it is. Government is very much providing the relaxations in terms of the fees that they charge, in terms of the compliances that they ask you to do, in terms of the penalties that they were imposing all this while. So this is a good time to start with. So if you have even a bit of that zeal in you that you want to do something around this, just start it up, right? So yeah, to start with, just know that there are a lot of people who inquire that we want to do startup. How do we do it? So the first thing that you need to do for starting up is to have an structure in place. Is to have an entity in place. So when I say entity, there are a lot of entities which are eligible to be enrolled as startup. And the first and the most important structure that we discuss usually, that is allowed and that takes you in the long run, is private limited company. Uh, to be a startup, you can either be a private limited company, you can be a limited liability partnership. You can also you can also register yourself as a partnership firm, um, which the state governs. But of course, the other two entities won't have a long run for you, right? Ultimately, because every startup sees the or aims to have investors on board or to fly high ultimately, right? So do not restrict yourselves to a partnership firm or LLP, but directly jump into a private limited structure that's going to take you in the long run. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of confusion amongst this because 80% of the queries that that is shoot from the entrepreneurs to us is basically how do we start and what do we start with in terms of structure. So I'm cutting it down right now in terms of structure. Trust me, it's private limited company which is very much comfortable to start. So if you're willing to start then, and if you talk about the process, it's very simple for you. Hustle is on us, to do it rightly. So for you, it's just simple as the five basic steps that I have mentioned here. Its name, first of all, check if the name or the brand that you're trying to make is available or not. if it is available, just conduct a search, on two domains. One is the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, where all the existing companies are registered. So they do check this, if you are having, if you not, want, for example, ABC Private Limited, is there an existing company with that name, or does that name resembles to any brand at the international level, but also having a licensing office or subsidiary in India. And at the same time, the third place where you want to check it out would be at the trademarks portal, right? So trademark is something that gives you an edge over your name, right? So if you feel that you want this name and that name is already existing in trademark but not in MCA portal, you won't be allowed to do that. MCA and trademark 5 years back have merged themselves and are in very much due, and hence the name application would go here, somewhat high if you're not in compliance and if it resembles to anyone. So first of all, check the name availability. Then, in case you feel like the name is available or you mold your name in a way that is unique, then go for the application of name. Now, when you apply for name, it's as simple as paying fee, giving two optional name to the ministry, and then waiting for them to revert. So government within 7 to 8 days in general, and these days because of the pandemic, they are taking around 20 to 30 days just to approve the name. So which is okay in a way, and that way you get the approval letter or a resubmission remarks, either ways. So after this, then once we assume that we have got the name, we apply for or we submit the documents and forms to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs of India. Now, what does this mean? Supplying or submitting the forms. So government knows that this is the name that has been reserved and nothing else. So all your documents would be verified, would be checked, and would be placed in a manner that as per the regulation is required, and we do it. Any consultant would do it for you. It's easy. So yeah, all those declarations, affidavits, forms, and everything would be collected and would be submitted to MCA. Now again, within 20 to 25 days, Ministry of Corporate Affairs would revert to you with a certificate of incorporation, if at all everything is perfect, and they are of the opinion that company would be incorporated. So this is the basic process of incorporation. We are done here with the incorporation process. You can shoot any of your questions, if at all you come up with, in the chat box. Me or Harsh, any one of us, would revert to you here. So this once done, you are a private limited company or any structure, right? So we are done with having a company right now. We are still not startup. So those who are willing to start up know that this is just a company incorporation. Once this is done, you have to do two basic registration. One is DIPP, which is startup. Unless you are DIPP registered, you are not a startup, right? So to be a startup recognized by the central government of India, you have to enroll yourself in the Department of Policy and Promotions, which is now DPIIT. And parallelly, you also need to have MSME registration. These two registrations are quite simple. MSME could be done in a couple of hours. It's as simple, and you yourself can do it. There's no hustle in that. And again, coming back to the second one, which is DIPP. DIPP is a little complex, but still it's easy. Any good consultant would help you do that. DIPP is a simple plan that what you are into, what is your revenue model, what is your business model, uh, how can you say that you have an innovative idea to make sure that you are a startup, and all these things filled together with a pitch deck would give you the DIPP registration. Of course, this is approval based again from the ministry and department. So once you're done with this, I think you are a startup, right? You are a startup. So company incorporated, DIPP done, and MSME done. Here you are a startup, legally eligible startup, which means that you can have access to all the benefits that the government is giving from time to time. These benefits, you know, range from uh, range from the various credit facilities like loans and it's all, till rebates that the government is giving in government services. For example, if you're a startup and then you're willing to have your own intellectual property right registered, if that is the case, you can very much apply for trademark or any IPR, and you get up to 70% rebate in the government fees. For example, if you're applying for trademark and the government fees for any company is 10,000 and you're a registered startup entity, fees for you would be 50% for that. So basically a deduction of 50% fees. So these are the basic benefits. There are a lot, of course, but to start with, these are the benefits. Now, right. So we have seen like how do we become a corporate who is startup. I missed a point here, that is validity on the company incorporation approval part. I mentioned it because considering the pandemic situation that is going on here, government has provided a lot of relaxation. This is basically in terms of the number of days which are given to you for for applying for name or for applying for incorporation. For example, if you have applied for a name and you have reserved it, in general it is reserved for 20 days. That means if you do not use that name for 20 days, any other person can use it, right? So that's lapsed. But in this situation, government has given a relief period of 20, 20, and 15, which is private limited companies 20, for LP it's 20, and for for incorporation and resubmission part it's 15. So basically the norm that has come up a year ago, that you have to incorporate a company within 20 days, has been extended by 40, 45 days somehow. So that is a good point here, because ministry people are not really operational nowadays, which is why there's a delay. And considering this delay, our forms get rejected. So this could save us and save the startup. So that was this one thing. Next, we have corporate compliance relaxations, right? So once you have an entity in place, you are a registered startup. There are a lot of compliance that you require to do. This range from event-based compliances till any compliance that is mandatory throughout the year. For example, just to give you a brief knowledge, Ministry of Corporate Affairs of India, Registrar of Companies, or Regional Directors, these three authorities basically govern the incorporation and compliance part. They have divided everything into two parts, right? One, everything that is event based, which is in the occurrence of an event. For example, director has to designate, or you have to shift your registered office from one state to another, anything. On that, in cases like this are known as event based. Otherwise, there are few compliances that are mandatory. Once you incorporate a company, it is really very much mandatory for you to do basic compliances, and which are not at all allowed to be skipped. So to name a few, I think this would get a little technical, but still I'll just cover this in a minute. To name a few forms, DIR 3 KYC. I'm pretty sure those who have company registered, they must have had an interesting experience with the um, first form, which is DIR 3 KYC, and the last form in the mandatory compliance part, which is INC 22A. So a fun fact here, what happens is these two forms are very simple, right? They are as simple as putting your name, putting your PAN number, your Aadhaar number, your unique email ID, and your unique phone number, and you're done there, right? They just accept that, you submit it, you put up the OTPs, and it's done. But uh, if you skip this, if you skip this simple form, then they would impose you with a penalty of 5,000 on each KYC form, and a penalty of 10,000 for each 22A. So, which is why you need to be very particular about the due dates here. Uh, Being startup, we do not earn much, right? We are on the process, and we are generally in the ideation stage and all of it. So we need to save every penny that we could. In the long run, that's gonna benefit you. Which is why to take very cautious care of all the due dates is very much required for any startups. So yeah, anyone having such experience could just share on the chat, right? So yeah, these are the forms. DIR 3 KYC is basically director KYC. 20A is a declaration form. Once you incorporate a company, within 60 days, you have to file a declaration that you have submitted your money that you have taken against the shares in the bank account, and that is how you are allowed to run the company. Unless you do this, you are not allowed to start the business. So this, and then DPT, it's about how much money you have taken from the outsiders and everything. So all these forms have been extended till 30th September. And following forms are the annual forms, which is ADT1, EOC4, or NGT7. These are the mandatory annual forms. Every company going through any or anything has to do this. So these are the The due dates for this are yet to be, declared by the ministry, and that's about it. Mandatory compliance are just two here, which if you have not done, it's the right time to do it now also. These are COVID-19 and NC 22. COVID-19 is nothing but a declaration that company is complying with all the norms that central government or the state government have come up with, considering the precautions or anything that companies has to take considering COVID-19. So that's about it. Yeah. So next is companies fresh start scheme 2020. As I said, everything is very particular. A lot of penalties are being imposed. Trust me, this scheme has come up as a blessing to all of them who are yet to submit a few forms, or who are having non-compliance history for long years. So what it is exactly is, it's a relief measure. You know, Yeah, it's a relief measure. It's an immunity against the prosecution that is going on. So, for example, if you skip one form to be filed with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, you are imposed with a minimum penalty of 100 rupee per day for as many number of days as you're skipping, right? So, in general, if we miss it normally, and then we realize a year after the due date that it was missed, and you are already holding a 70,000 rupee penalty with you there, and you have to pay. There's no skipping that. This scheme is for that, that if at all there is any particular form on which you are holding on any penalty, use this scheme, pay it off, and you just have to give a 500 rupee fee for form filing and nothing else. So there are companies, who are saving lakhs, maybe 10 lakh, 20 lakh just against the penalty using this scheme. So if at all you feel like there is any particular form that you have missed in the past, and which is a burden on you right now, here's the time. Use this scheme and pay it off. So it's just want to take a normal form filing fee and nothing. So it's mentioned here, it's for defaulting companies. Defaulting companies who have not filed, or the inactive companies, or who are having penalties. But it's not, of course, it's not for a long period. It's just it has started in the month of April and would end in the month of September. So this period is the window where you can leverage this scheme, and not after that. There are a few, applicability and not non-applicability specified in the rules considering this. So yeah, these are subjectives. We can take it offline if anyone wants more details on this. But yeah. Benefits are simple. You save a lot of money here. But one thing that you should know here is, since government has come up with a lot of relaxations, know that once all of this is over, government is going to take strict actions, right? They always do what's good for their pocket. So since they are waiving a lot of fees, trust me, if you do not leverage the scheme where you have to, a lot of penal prosecutions, civil prosecutions would come up definitely. So it's a good chance, and trust me, it's the last time. So in case you have this, just let me know. Yeah. So this is a compliance checkup. So what? How about this, right? You are getting a lot of relaxations from government. You just postpone this or leverage the credit schemes and all of it. But have you ever thought that this is also the time where you can actually sit back and check out on yourself that if your company is well compliant, if you have any forms, because there are times when you don't even know yourself that this form was mandatory and you have skipped it. If you do it anyway, you'll be imposed with penalties, right? So there's this one way to save it, which is as simple as doing a checkup. Go to any consultant, ask them to conduct a compliance checkup for you. They will just go through. They will just help you go through all the list of compliances that you should have done and that you have not done, right? So you can compare yourself there and just come up with a report what is remaining and leverage the scheme that I mentioned above and do it. So yeah, that is about this. So I think this is done. We are done here with the compliance part, the corporate part. Uh, One thing that I would like to mention here is, it's a good time to start with, of course, but also it's a good time to, create your identity, which is why this comes up with a time that you can gain a very valuable intangible asset, right? I'm talking about IPRs here. So if you have any intellect that has come up during the COVID period, considering the Made in India scheme or any other thing, do stand up and apply for your trademarks and patents. There you'll be getting a lot many benefits, and plus once you get it, it's a valuable asset for your company. So when you go for investment fundings and stuff, you'll get an edge over other competent startups. So yeah, this is it. I think I'm done with first part of the case. And Harsh, I would like you to take over from here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Namrata. Thank you for this wonderful, compliance and, telling us the due dates and everything. So, I believe there are few questions, Namrata, if we can just, quickly,
Yeah,
there
sure, I
are
will.
some questions. Yeah,
Yeah, you can continue. I will. Yeah.
perfect, perfect, perfect. So, there's this one question wherein someone asked, what are the documents for company incorporation? So,
Harsh, do you
so
have screen sharing option? So I'll just close this and we'll focus on the chat.
cool. I do that.
Okay.
Okay. So while Namrata is doing her this technical stuff, so someone asked what is the document required for company incorporation. So I'll just quickly tell you there's a very simple basic document that is required for company incorporation would be a basic your KYC, your PAN card, Aadhaar card, and the simple identity proof along with your address proof wherein you want to register your company. Correct. So these are the very few documents that you would need. Where do you want to register your company, the place of registration, the address proof, your identity proof, and your photo proof along with your one photograph. So I think having these documents, you will be all sorted to register for a company. And further all documents will be provided by the your consultant or chartered accountant, whoever is registering your company. Okay. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. So so before I saw there are various questions regarding company incorporation. There are various questions regarding FCRI registration, grants, schemes, MSME, and Startup India. What are the benefits and all? So I'll definitely cover that, and before that I'll definitely would like to cover those questions before getting into income tax and GST. What are the benefits and what are the things that the government has allowed for us to take a breather and focus on wealth generation. So so Namrata told us if you want to be a startup and if you want to start up something that you have an idea in place and you have already pivoted and you have a POC in place, so you will definitely have to register a company or LLP or a partnership firm to take yourself a startup India registration from DPIIT. Once you gain that registration of Startup India, you start your journey as a startup and you go forward with either selling your product, your services, or anything that you are feeding into. Once you do that, you'll definitely be incurred and you'll definitely be liable to do a lot of compliances. Compliances like income tax. Even if we don't have a company, we all above 18 years of age, we can file income tax returns. We all know that. I hope everyone know that we have to file GST returns in terms of every month there's some GST returns and there are some processes which allows us to file GST return either quarterly or monthly. There are certain things which is called as TDS, wherein if you pay an amount to someone, that is the point wherein you deduct an amount and you pay the vendor the balance amount. As in, if anyone is salaried or if anyone gets a salary and they get an amount deducting a certain amount which company called is TDS. Correct. So you'll get an amount after deducting TDS. So often people say "Arey mujhe paise kam mile from the company." Correct. So that is the amount which is called as TDS. So firstly, let's jump into what are the things that government has made us and help these companies as a relief, correct? So if any one of you, if you're a company, an entity, or anyone, if you have donated anything or a single penny into PM Care Fund, PM Relief Fund for Corona, you will get 100% deduction in income tax. Correct. This is up to 30th of June. Mark my words, you have to make sure that these relaxation is from a particular date to a particular date. So you have to make sure that if you have made a contribution to PM Care Fund up to 30th June, you will definitely be eligible to get 100% deduction for it. Correct. And a lot of people, we have heard about mutual funds, we have heard about health insurance, we have heard about charitable donation that we make. All these donations for the relevant year from April 19 to March 20, if you forget, if you are unable to make an investment into ELSS, mutual funds, LIC, or let's say, for example, into health insurance or charitable contribution that you used to do up to 31st March. So none to worry, you have time till 30th June, make that investment and claim a deduction on your income tax. Very simple point. It's just that if you have not done that, this is your point wherein you would want to make that investment and get your income tax deduction, so that the tax payment or the tax rate is much, your income tax which have to pay to the government is less. Is anyone saying something? Okay. Anyways, so and so a lot of startup founders, when they come to us and say hey, we want to raise funds and the investor is ready and we are ready, we want to dilute our equity and we want to raise funds. So a lot of time wherein people, when they do a due diligence before investments and before putting in funds, they do a due diligence and they find out these founders have not even filed a single income tax return in their life. Correct. I can understand when they are not earning, but when the company is earning, you are 3 years into the business and you're earning something. And if you do not file an income tax return, that is a sheer case of miscompliance and non-compliance, wherein investor wants that you should be well complied from time to time and you should avoid these penalties, wherein you would not want to pay a huge penalty to the government for this non-compliance. So that's why whosoever has not filed an income tax return for the financial year 2018 to 2019, they can still file those income tax returns till 30th June 2020. Earlier, this date was up to 31st March 2020, but they have increased the due date, from 31st March to June. So whosoever is a founder or or a budding entrepreneur, they should definitely make sure that even if they have a little income, the tax would not be there, but they should definitely file income tax return. Similarly, if we see the income tax return for 2019 and 20, correct, from April 19 to March 20. So the due date of this was 31st July 2020 for individuals and the companies into consideration. So this date has been extended to 30th November. So this is a benefit wherein we want to make sure that we have filed an income tax return. If not by July, then definitely by November. So there's a big relief from the government, and this is this is by the government to help these people or to help us to make sure that we are not falling under the category of non-compliance. Similarly, if you have a company, if you have any entity that per se, and you cross a turnover of 1 crore rupees in a year, then you are liable for doing a tax audit. That is mandatory under Income Tax Act. So I'll not go into detail, but just that this tax audit needs to be filed by 30th September each and every year. This year, due to this corona and lockdown thing, our finance minister said, instead of filing it on 30th September or before 30th September, we can file it before 31st October 2020. So that's a big relief for the companies who are going for tax audits and all. And the major benefit is when we do a due diligence for a lot of companies, for startups, for investors, we see that there's a lot of miscompliance and non-compliance in terms of income tax, corporate, and GST. Because obviously, if I would be in your shoes, so working for my company, generating revenues would be my first target instead of doing these compliance. I totally understand. But if you are a company and you want to raise funds, then you have to make sure that you do each and everything correctly. Correct? For example, so many a times we have to deduct TDS. or many a times you're providing our services to any company and the company deducts TDS and pays us the balance amount. So this is a good news wherein if that company is liable to deduct a 10% TDS for your services, let's say for example, so up to 31st March 2021, government has allowed us to take a rebate of 25% in these scenarios. Correct? So if like if someone is deducting a TDS of 10% for your services, now they have to deduct a TDS of 7.5%. So 25% is a fees waiver in terms of TDS. Correct. So these are the very few income tax and TDS reliefs that the government has allowed us. Some small reliefs into compliances. Now I'll tell you some reliefs into GST and labor law. Correct. So obviously GST has to be filed every single month. We all know. If you don't know, like, and I'll tell you, there's this GSTR 3B return, wherein you have to file these returns every single month in terms of how much sales or how much taxable value of goods that or services that you have sold in a month. Correct. So from March till April, March, April, May, 3 months, these have been extended to 30th June 2020. Correct. So all those returns that you need to file from March to May, you need to file those returns by June 2020. GST annual return, it's a very vast topic and I'll not go into details. So GST annual return whose turnover is less than 5 crores and greater than 1 crore, they need to file their annual return up to June 2020. Correct. Then comes the labor law, wherein there is when we have a company or any entity and we have more than 20 employees or 10 employees in an organization. Correct. So we are mandatory liable to deduct PS, which is Employee Provident Fund, correct, from the employer side and from the employee side. So this TDS deduction rate was 12% before Corona, correct? But from April, this rate has been revised to 10% so that this gives a high liquidity boost to our economy and to the employers and plus employees. So less EPF to be deducted and more salary to be paid to the employee, so that the employee gets more salary in hand than deducting EPF. Correct. The major benefit for this is they have changed the entire definition of MSME, wherein a lot of people has a lot of doubt that what is the thing that MSME has changed, what are the benefits of MSME, how can we avail schemes, grants, money, loan, whatever things from MSME. Correct. So let me tell you this. Previously, MSME was defined by two categories, correct? Manufacturing and service, correct? Now also it is manufacturing and services, correct? But the segment of micro, small and medium was different previously. Now after this finance minister's update, it is completely different, correct? So for micro, earlier it was investment should be less than 25 lakhs. But now to involve more and more companies and industries into micro sector, the investment can be less than 1 crore. The 25 lakhs has been increased to 1 crore for services as well. But there is one more condition to this. This time they have added that if your turnover, that is your total gross revenue, is less than 5 crore, then only you are a micro industry. Otherwise, you fall into a category of small industry. It's a simple range bracket, 0 to 1 crore of investment, you are a micro industry. 1 crore to 10 crore of investment, you are a small industry, and 10 crore to 20 crore of investment, you are a medium industry. And each and every one of them has relevant benefits from MSME, correct? So this is a major change or major update that our finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman has put in and for the benefit of our ecosystem as well, because a lot of startups into service domain or manufacturing domain or product domain, they fall into the micro sector of this industry. So it's very beneficial. So I'll quickly tell you about the most. So after finance minister released the scheme of MSME and a collateral-free loan scheme, the Twitter was filled with questions about what is Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, what is the procedure or what is the eligibility of getting funds from the government announced under MSME scheme, how can we get loan, and what is the procedure to get a grant from this, correct? So very simple, like, I'll just explain it to you in few points. I've made a very simple chart for this. So total fund value for Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, which is collateral free loan, is total fund value is 3 lakh crores for the MSMEs involved, correct? So the first eligibility is you have to be the MSME, correct? So if you see here, if you fall under any of these categories, correct, whether it's small, micro, medium, you will be eligible to get loan or benefit from Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, correct? So first you are MSME. Second, you have to be a proprietorship firm, partnership firm, LLP, or a company, correct? Once you are that, then this scheme is only valid for companies or entities who have an existing loan or any kind of credit limits from the bank, correct? So if you have a loan, let's say for example, less than 25 crores and your turnover is not exceeding 100 crores, that means, let's say for example, if you have a loan of 10 crores, for example, and your turnover is somewhere around 50 crores, then you will be definitely be eligible for this scheme. And this scheme, the eligibility amount is 20% of the loan amount. So if I have 10 crores of existing loan, then 2 crore rupees will be the support that I get from MSME, correct? So 20% of the existing loan. So the loan amount is given. The tenure is 4 years, that the loan will be granted for 4 years. You can utilize this money for 4 years. But the benefit and the trick is, for the very first year, like when you get the loan till the 1 year, you don't have to repay any single amount to the government, correct? There's a moratorium period that the government is allowed for 1 year. You don't have to pay anything for 1 year. And from next year onwards, for the next 3 years, you have to repay this amount equally into EMI based system, correct? So that's a huge benefit for MSME if you are registered into MSME. And if you have an existing loan structure in place, you can definitely reach out for this scheme to the MSME department. It's very simple. The government has announced the scheme to help MSMEs and startups like us, correct? Collateral, they will not ask you for any collateral, any security, nothing. This will be given completely collateral free. The benefit is, the most important benefit is, you do not have to pay a single rupee as a processing fee, correct? You don't have to pay any processing fee. And this loan has a validity point. This loan can be availed from 23rd May up to 31st October 2020, correct? So you make sure, if you want to avail this facility as a loan, so you make sure that you do it before 31st October 2020, correct? So this is the most talked about Atmanirbhar scheme and collateral free loan that was clear from our finance minister. And if we move ahead, these are some of the subsidies or schemes that a MSME or a startup can avail in terms of if they want to expand into their horizons, or if they want to proceed in terms of either production, either wage payment, either working capital, or anything related to loans and interest, correct? So there's a lot many schemes, but before going into these schemes, correct, I'll briefly tell you what are the benefits of registering into MSME once you have an entity, correct? So the first benefit is you get Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, correct? The second benefit, you get a lot of incentives and credit subsidies, second and third point, if you see here. So a lot of capital subsidy and interest subsidy, correct? If you are doing a solar project, if you are doing an agriculture project, if you are doing any project into a backward area of your state. Let's say, for example, if Odisha, there is a backward state in your place defined by the government, and if you set up any industry into that area, and if you are an MSME, so you will definitely be allowed and eligible for credit linked capital subsidy and interest subsidy. So what is capital subsidy? So by simple terms, capital subsidy is something wherein if you set up a unit and the whole setting up cost of that unit is approximately 50 lakhs, let's say for example, correct? So that 50 lakhs is your capital investment, correct? And different state governments and central government has made different subsidy initiatives for different verticals. So if I'm into agriculture and I am setting up a poly house, correct? And the poly house for 1 acre costs approximately 50 lakhs, correct? So I can get to MSME department, get an MSME registration, go to NABARD, and 50% of my capital cost will be reimbursed. So approximately 25 lakhs will be credited in my bank account in staggered parts. and 50% of that capital amount will be reimbursed to me. So the total cost which I have to pay from my pocket would be 25 lakhs at the end. Correct. So this is capital subsidy. What is interest subsidy? Let's say, for example, for these 50 lakh of loan, I have taken a loan from a bank. Correct. I've taken a 50 lakh loan from the bank to make a polyhouse in somewhere in a backward area in your state. Correct. And if I took a loan, then government says, if you have a loan on this industry wherein we are providing subsidy, we will provide you reimbursement for all the interest or half of the interest or any percentage of interest that you pay to the bank. That is called interest linked subsidy. So as soon as you pay the interest, the government pays you back whatever percentage your state government or central government has defined. Correct. So these are the two very important subsidy. Each state and each central initiative has this subsidy. It's just that we do not know about this. So next time, even if you're starting a project, go for go to the government departments and go to the government department website of your state and search for credit linked capital subsidy and interest linked subsidy. You will find a lot of things that you can avail. Correct. The best part is if any of your entrepreneurs or startup are helping people or helping government or helping this entire community to fight COVID. Correct. So SIDBI has allowed a 5%, as low as 5% loan to these entities up to rupees 2 crores. Correct. So you can take this loan from SIDBI, SIDBI, correct, and the interest would be 5%. Correct. That is crumbs of money as if you compare to the other banks who are providing loans. Correct. So the current loan structure is starting from 9.5, 9.75 per annum, but SIDBI is providing you at 5% per annum just for the people or industries who are supporting someone who is helping COVID initiatives and helping people into this COVID situation. Even if you are building a insulator, if you are building a mask or something like that, if you're setting up a manufacturing unit, SIDBI will be able to help you out. Correct. There's a scheme called CGTMSC, Credit Linked Credit Guarantee Scheme. This is for banks and startups. Correct. So what happens is, if you want a loan but you do not have any security with you, correct, and if you do not have anything related to collateral with you for the bank, you can avail the scheme, correct, wherein central government along with SIDBI and different organization, they provide a credit guarantee to a bank that you provide the loan to the entity. We will guarantee that if this person defaults, if he is unable to pay the amount to you back, we will take care of it. Correct. But the challenging part for this scheme is the interest rate is higher than 2% than the standard interest rate. Correct. That 2% which the banks or the central government charge is called credit guarantee fee. Correct. So for the guarantee that they're providing, they charge a fee of 2% of the loan amount. So make sure that you consider this while calculating your interest and other structures or costs if you're taking and going for the CGTMSC scheme. Correct. Fun part. If you talk about Chhattisgarh, Odisha, central states like MP, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and so these states have a very good positive Startup India policy, for these particular states. Like Odisha provides rental subsidy of 20,000. They also provide a capital subsidy of some lakhs. I've read it. And Chhattisgarh government, on the same hand, provides equity finance and debt finance at 0% interest for 3 years. Correct. So they are provided in different range with different incubators across India. So that is the benefits of subsidies or schemes that you can avail if you are a MSME or a startup. So someone was asking in the chat that what are the benefits for startup, companies who are registered in the Startup India and companies who are not registered in the Startup India. So this is the benefit. You get a lot of benefits from the government. If you're a startup and if you're fighting a tender for any work, you don't have to pay an EMD, honest money deposit. Also, you don't have to give them a prior experience. So even if you're a new company, so you don't have to have a prior experience into that work. You can directly apply that tender. Correct. Let's say, for example, if you're applying for patent or trademark, up to 50% to 70% of your cost is reimbursed by the government. So you don't need to pay the full amount. The second benefit. Third benefit, when you are going or entering into a banking sector and you want some banks to open up your account and you want to do a banking, but you don't have a minimum balance to keep in your account, this Startup India scheme will help you out to open a bank account with several banks dedicated by Startup India with a zero rupee in your bank account. So zero maintenance charge, and you don't have to maintain a single rupee in your bank account. This account has been opened, like Kotak has been very famous for this. HDFC have a startup account. So these banks are tied up with Startup India, and they provide loans at zero maintenance. Correct. So these are some of the things. Similarly, if you go to your the the Udyog organization of your state, in Chhattisgarh we have CSIDC. If you have industries department in your state by some name, go to their website, go to the links, and you can find a lot of links regarding subsidies and schemes that are present in your state. Make sure to check that before entering into any industry to make sure that you have a perfect cost of your capital. Correct. If we move ahead, correct, then I would definitely like to draw your attention to something called as grants. Correct. So someone was asking if we have a FCRA registration and can we get a grant. So FCRA and grants are two separate issues. Correct. FCRA is something wherein if you are a charitable organization and you want to take funds or contribution from a foreign entity in a foreign currency, then you need to have a FCRA registration before accepting that money or deposit or contribution. Correct. If you don't have an FCRA registration, you cannot. Receiving a grant, let's say for example, HDFC has a grant, triple ITs have a grant. There's an institution called Tide, they have a grant. There are several government institutions which provide a grant which is non-returnable. Correct. You don't have to return, you don't have to dilute any equity, you just have to pay. You have to just participate into that thing, and if you prove that you are eligible or you are worthy enough to take that grant, and you way through your competition, you can definitely get a grant at a 0% repayment or anything. You don't have to even dilute or go for repayment. So grant is available with a lot of institutions. If you want, I can share a list of grants which we have identified over the past few years, that these are the active grants, and you can definitely take help and support for these grants. There's a grant available for MSME. There's a grant available for startups into tech sector. There's a grant available for startups into research sector. So a lot of grants available, and this amounts to more than 100 crores. It's just that it went unutilized, and every year government, the government makes sure that it is carried forward to the next year because it is not utilized to full. So make sure you also do that. Correct. So I think I've explained a lot about subsidy schemes and the relief that government is provided. But as a bonus, before closing my session, there was a question which we were asked several times when we conduct this webinar, that is funding happening? Are startups eligible to raise funds whenever in this COVID situation? Something if not funds, then can we do any legal compliance or financial compliance or corporate compliance during this lockdown? Is it working or not? So let me tell you, obviously the funding rate has been dropped by almost 40% from last year. This month from last year, it is dropped by 40%. But the other day we were talking to some of the investors, VCs, and we spoke to them, and we were discussing about, is the funding scenario active, or are you investing into startups? So one of the VCs, and they also had an article a few days back into your story saying that we have invested in approximately 14 startups from March till May. Correct. So definitely funding is happening. The only criteria is during these difficult times or during these challenging times, if you can maintain independent revenue up to 50%, correct? If you generate your business up to 50% during this COVID situation, you are good to go for any investor, and they will definitely hear you out. But if you cannot do your business during this COVID situation and you are crippled because of this lockdown scenario and your revenue is zero, the investor will not even have a look for at least next 6 months. So you make sure pivot your business or pivot your structure or pivot your business model to adopt the situation and go virtual, or make it possible to work independently irrespective of the situation. Correct. Because we are in the in times wherein reality has been completely shifted to virtual, and virtual is the new real. Correct. So we were having this webinars, we hardly had any webinar in before COVID situation, but now every single day we have at least 2 or 3 webinars scheduled. Correct. So make sure that you pivot that. So investment is happening. If we talk about compliance, company registration, legal agreements, and all necessary documents or compliance with the government side. So yes, those are happening. The government offices are open, but the time duration which takes, which were earlier, let's say for example, if one service it used to take 5 days, now it's taking comparatively more time than previously because of lockdown. The government offices are operating at almost one third capacity. But yes, it is not stopped. The economy is still going, and we are all in this together. And we have to think of something, and we it is on us to reboost and revive this economy. So I think that is some thought that we need to put in. So thank you everyone for this. And if you have any questions, so we'll definitely be happy to take up your question and shoot it up, whether it's related to compliance, whether it's related to funding or anything. We'll be happy to help you out.
Thank you so much, sir, for such valuable inputs on this. Sure, our
Can't hear you
viewers
clearly,
definitely
Rosie.
gain basic regarding this. Hello, is it
Yeah,
audible?
better.
Hello.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you are.
So I would like to thank you, sir, for such a valuable inputs on this topic. I'm sure you must have definitely gained the big idea in the management legal compliances post-COVID. So as we have received questions regarding this topic, so I would
Yeah, I
like to
can see
put
that.
up some
Yeah.
of the questions. Like there's
Mhm.
a questions from, yeah. So Abhijit Kumar, so he was asking regarding MSME loan, the
Mhm.
Shishu Kishore.
Correct, correct,
So would you
correct.
like to throw some light on it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So, Abhijit, good question. A lot of people present in this webinar are not will not be able to understand what is Shishu, Kishore, and Tarun. So, for everyone, I'll just tell you. So, these are the few initiatives that government took for Mudra scheme, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Correct. So, Shishu being the smallest Mudra scheme wherein you get a loan up to 10,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees. Then there is Kishore where you get loan up to 5 lakh rupees. And then there is Tarun where you get a collateral free loan up to 10 lakh rupees. Correct. So this is called Mudra scheme, but it's very easy to get. You need to require a very few documents, very basic documents about your business, about your registrations, about your income tax returns, and about your bank statements. If you have these 4 documents, you can go up to any government bank and tell them that this is a business and this is the projection that we are going to have for next 5 years. That is called a CMA report. If you have that, and you can definitely approach any bank and they will be happy to help you and disburse you an amount up to rupees 10 lakhs, but make sure it is not exceeding 10 lakhs. Correct. So that is something that Abhijit, I hope I have answered your question. If you have any further question, you can shoot it up. It's called Mudra loan.
My next question is for Namrata ma'am. Ma'am, I
Mhm.
would like to ask you this question, that how can create an internal control within a company regarding this legal
I'm really sorry,
management?
Glossy. I couldn't hear you. Can you please come?
Hello, is it
Yes,
audible?
better
Yeah,
now.
ma'am. I was just asking that how within a company we can control the system internally regarding the legal licenses management.
Okay, I guess the question is, can we manage the legal compliances internally within a company? Is this right, Rossi?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is very much possible that you manage it internally. Rather, I always suggest this, that promoters should be very much aware of what all compliances they have to do, so that when they shuffle to any other consultant or in any other case, they should be very much well aware about what all they need to do at any that is possible, but again I recommend that you reach out to a proper consultant who can guide you through, because one minor mistake could lead you to a larger troublesome situation. So unless you're very much clear in your head that you have basic and required knowledge of all the acts and departments and authorities, you can. Otherwise, it's suggested to go for a consultant anyway.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
So we have, I think we can take for one more question also. Is Rahul asked another
Mm-hmm.
one, is the Atmanirbhar on the India loan sanctioned above amount
Mm-hmm.
or the outstanding amount as on 29/2020?
Correct. So, Rahul, good you brought up that question. It's a wonderful question. So, I'll clarify it. So, we spoke to a lot of representative from MSME and the government sector, and we tried to clarify it. Also, there's a lot of ambiguity between whether the sanction amount or the outstanding amount will be taken or the sanction amount. Obviously, if someone who's doing a great business would definitely like to go for the outstanding the total sanction amount, but logically if we see and professionally if you ask our opinion, that is based on outstanding amount. So if you have an outstanding amount of 20 lakh rupees, so 20% of that will be your eligible amount, correct? But a lot of because of lot of ambiguity, we are expecting a clarification from the government and the Ministry of Small, Medium and Micro Industries to make a clarification on that, whether it is only for sanction or only for outstanding. So in our professional experience, it's outstanding.
I
Hello,
hope Rahul,
Harshdeep.
you got your answer.
Yeah,
Okay,
hello,
so there
Harshdeep.
is
I
one
want to ask you
another
another question.
question. Yeah, please ask.
Okay, please shoot.
As you have told that we could go to the banks with our that project statement and project sheets, and we could get the loan. But the scene is not there. The bank, as we talk about our startup, and it's based on technology. The bankers are not able to understand our technology, and they are telling that it won't be working or like that. So, is there any governing body so which we can go through and we can approach so that our will be
Correct. Okay, so I'll tell you. So just make sure whenever, so banks are not your investors, correct? So they will definitely want to look at your company as a revenue generating unit, correct? So I internally, when we discuss about loans or when we discuss about proposals that we have done in the past, so we internally discuss and we make this a thumb rule. Whenever we are approaching any bank for any type of loan, whether it's Mudra or whether it's any other scheme, correct? So the only thing banks look at for a non-collateral thing would be revenue. It is always suggested that if you are generating a small, whether it's a small revenue or some revenue, then the bank would definitely give you preference over someone who is not generating revenue at all, correct? Let's say for example, if you if you want to give a loan to someone, or let's say for example to me, correct, and I'm not generating any revenue, and you give me that loan and I exhaust that entire amount into marketing or any other expense that I want to, but if I don't generate revenue, the bank will be at loss, correct, or you will be at loss. So definitely the banks look at every single company or a startup, if they are generating some revenue out of it, and you show that we are generating revenue at this point, and after 5 years you'll be generating this much. So that is a positive sign or a win-win for you and the bank both. So then the banks are more inclined towards helping you out in terms of whether it's CGTMSE, Mudra loan, or for that matter, any other loan. Correct? So that is the case. So there's no authority as such, but the banks are their independent decision maker in terms of their Mudra loans or any other
Okay, so I hope so you got your answer. I would also
yeah.
add on to this, that is one of assistant professor of Dayanand. He is Dr. Rajiv Kapoor, and he had also informed that the scheme for felicitating startup intellectual property protection, that is SIIP, is further extended for a period of 3 years. That is from 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2023. So this is also a great information that if anyone wants to know that regarding the duration of SIIP, so they can also apply for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can go for just one more question. That is from Gary Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
He has asked, how about a startup looking at seed funding? Are they eligible for a loan? And is the CMA report at this stage valid? are we go to a consultant for a valid CMA?
Okay, so Gary, 3 points in this. The first part of your question would, like, if a startup is looking for seed funding, so definitely there's no eligibility for the loan. It's just that, like, as I said for the previous question as well, if you have a revenue, then you have a very positive sign of getting loans from the bank, correct? If you have a project and you can convince the bankers that, like, this is the project that we are going to start, so the banks will not look at revenue. They will look at how much money are you chipping in, correct? So for every bank, let's say, for example, your project cost is 1 crore. So every bank has a limit set that up to what percentage of the project cost they are going to chip in the money, correct? Or extend you the loan facility. So that is somewhere between 50 to 70%, correct? Depending on the banks and depending on the credit exposure that you have. Let's say, for example, if it is 1 crore of the project and you went to any bank and the bank's rate is approximately 70% that we are going to cover your project expense, correct? So the bank will only provide you 70 lakhs of the loan, 70 lakh rupees of your entire project cost, correct? Rest of the 30 lakh rupees is on you to pitch in, correct? That is because bank says, if I am putting in money in your idea, in your business, so you should also have skin in the game and you should also put in some money wherein you so that we can also see that you are serious, correct? But this is not only about investment, but they also see your past credit history, correct? So if you have a strong income tax returns and if you have a strong banking relationship with that bank, or if for that matter any bank, so you will definitely get a loan. But as far as CMA report is concerned, CMA is a very logical report that anyone with a basic financial knowledge can do, correct? But there are some ratios that the banks check, and definitely I would definitely suggest you that you go to your either business consultant, your chartered accountant, or any other accountant for that matter, whom you take an advice for. Make sure that you make the CMA report very well and the ratios are proper set according to the bank standards. That will make you help and to get the loan very easily. Otherwise the banker will have not a very good impression at the very first instance and they might reject you. So yeah, so definitely getting a consultant for a CMA report would be a definite answer. Okay, so I think we can take one more question from Vibhu. With the current scenario and changes in MSME definition, is Mudra still applicable? If yes, any changes are still the same? Okay, Vibhu. So current scenario, MSME definition has been changed. This will not affect to the Mudra schemes that is prevalent in the current scenario. So MSME, the categorization of the industries would change to avail the different benefits or a lot more benefit that the government has announced. But for Mudra, there is no such schemes that are for micro, small, and medium. So for MSME as a whole, Mudra schemes applies. So that categorization or recategorization would not affect the Mudra scheme. So it stays the same. You can go to the bank and avail a Mudra loan up to 10 lakh rupees if you have a valid project report and your business idea. Hope that answers the question. Both the criteria. Rahul asked category for satisfying one criteria or both the criteria. So it's both the criteria. You have to satisfy both the criteria. So you'll be covered into micro, small, and medium.
Sure, sir. I think that's all for today. Like, we are getting more questions also. They are shooting questions also. So, but time restricts. So, thank you so much, Namrata ma'am and Harshdeep sir, for such an excellent inputs on this topic. Thank you for sharing your time and experiences with us. I'm sure our participants would have received valuable information from you and have at least got a clear vision regarding the legal compliance management.
Yeah.
I would also like to thank all the participants also for your valuable time and participation in our webinar. We hope that you definitely enjoyed it with the profitable ideas, and we also look forward to see you for our next upcoming webinars. So thank you so much all. And I've also shared the feedback link. Please just have a couple of minutes to share your feedbacks regarding this webinar.
Yeah, thank you, Glossy. Thank you, Kit CBI, for arranging this and having us for the session. If any one of you if anyone wants any further questions or have questions for us, you can definitely reach us to online. It's AccuLegal on non-social media platforms. And you can also reach out to us at info@acculegal.in so that we'll be able to help you out with that. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have
Bye.
a nice day. Take care. Bye bye.